back to the 90s!
Boom shakalaka!
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
My flows hit you at straight 88 miles per hour, that's enough to generate 1.21 gigawatts, son, and I'm on the run from the Libyans. It was a straight jack move for plutonium, and when they van rolls up, it's pandemonium. 1:18 a.m. at Twin Pines Mall is when I can pinpoint my total downfall. Now they say, Doc,
greetings and salutations, and welcome to Nostal-Ged. Now, when the channel first got started, when we had lockdown, one of the first videos we ever did was a top 10 Nickelodeon shows, and the plan was always to follow it up with a Cartoon Network list, but then something got in the way, and then another thing, and then another thing. But no more, we're finally going to do this. We're going to do top 10 favourite Cartoon Network shows. Now, as a kid, I was always a Nickelodeon guy. They just had the better shows. Kenan and Kel, Hey Arnold, Rugrats. Probably going to show my age, but Cartoon Network for me was always the Hanna-Barberas, Flintstones, Wacky Races, Scooby-Doo. That was what would be on Cartoon Network when I got in from school. But as time passed, Cartoon Network got stronger and stronger, and especially now I watch a lot with my kids. And Cartoon Network is miles ahead of Nickelodeon. Now on Cartoon Network, things like Regular Show, Teen Titans Go, Craig of the Creek, Summer Camp Island, it blows Nickelodeon out of the water nowadays. But we're not here for that today. Today is top 10 favourite Cartoon Network shows. Let's get into it. And this sums up what I was saying earlier perfectly. Amazing World of Gumball is the best current show on Cartoon Network. I know Nostal-Ged is supposed to be a nostalgia-based show, but you will see shows outside of the 90s and early 2000s as well. And this is a great show. Started watching it when my daughter was like 4 or 5 and I started getting back into Cartoon Network. And it is funny as hell. 1,000,000 miles an hour, so many different art styles. It is so creative, and there are so many great characters in this show. Banana Joe, you got Carrie Kruger, and my guy, the dad in the show, Richard Watterson, he steals the show. He's hilarious. Now, if you don't give it a chance, go give it a chance. You won't regret it. It's a great show. Growing up in the early 90s, there was a lot of stuff that I used to watch that I probably shouldn't at that age. Beavis and Butthead, Ren and Stimpy, Celebrity Deathmatch. They'd be on later on in the night. And Space Ghost Coast to Coast used to be on. And I used to love it because of how silly it was. But then I started watching it again in college. I got it on DVD. And it was like watching a whole new show. It is not for kids. There are so many innuendos and special guest appearances from bands. The bizarreness and the awkwardness was a prelude to shows that would come like Curb Your Enthusiasm and The Office and 30 Rock. Space Ghost Coast to Coast is definitely worth a watch with fresh eyes now that you're an adult. If I'm working away, it's one of the shows I go back to time and time again when I'm on the train. It is like a comfort food to me. I love this show so much.
Mama had a chicken. Mama had a cow. Dad was proud. He didn't care how.
Originally, Cow and Chicken appeared on the iconic What a Cartoon shorts, and it was one of the last shows to be produced by the legendary Hanna-Barbera. The slapstick insanity of the show makes it as watchable now as something like Tom and Jerry or Wacky Races or Looney Tunes was for us growing up. And of course it has one of the greatest bad guys of all time, the Red Guy.
1, 2, 3, yeah! Baby! Sassy!
I had to put my boy Johnny on here before the woke police come and take him away like they did with Pepe Le Pew. Another What a Cartoon spin-off. I really should go back and watch all those shorts again. As a kid growing up in the 90s, you thought that Johnny Bravo was the coolest guy in the world. But when I rewatched him with my kids, there is something a little bit deeper, a bit darker about Johnny Bravo. He still lives with his nan and his best friend is a Girl Scout and he's always striking out with the ladies. I mean, am I just reading something into Johnny Bravo that isn't there? Or is it something deeper in it? And while I have this window, I want to say a word about Mark Silk. He does the voice of Johnny Bravo, he does the voice of Scooby-Doo and loads of other iconic characters. And I've met him a couple of times at Comic-Cons and things like that. And this guy is, no word of a lie, the nicest guy in entertainment. A lot of guys at Comic-Cons that sign your thing, move you on. Mark will stand there and talk to you for hours on end about cartoons and other things. The guy is such a sweetheart. If you get a chance to meet Mark Silk, take it. He's so cool. Man, that theme song is my jam. I love that song. Bubbles, Blossom and Buttercup, they were always going to be on this list. Sugar, Spice, Everything Nice and Chemical X made one of the most iconic cartoons of all time. I love this show. It's a great superhero series, but the list of iconic characters in this, Mojo Jojo, Fuzzy Lumpkins, Princess Moorbucks, you got the Mayor, Miss Bellum, him, I mean, the Gangrene Gang, the list goes on. And there is not a bad episode about Powerpuff Girls. I say that, I haven't seen it since they introduced the new Powerpuff Girl Bliss in 2016. Let me know in the comment section, is it still worth a watch? If you say it is, I'll go back and watch it. Unlike the rest of the shows on this list, Steven Universe was something I didn't watch until years after it came out, after a friend recommended it, and now it's one of my favourite shows of all time. Steven is just so adorable and the crystal gems are badass. Pearl, Amethyst and my girl Garnet, they're all very different but amazing in all their own ways. One of the main reasons why Steven Universe is so good is the music. It is one of the best shows to have original songs. It's up there with South Park and Phineas and Ferb and the show we're going to get to next. Every single song is brilliant. The theme song is amazing. The Giant Woman song is so catchy, and Stronger Than You, my favourite, it's genuinely iconic.
Go ahead and try, hit me if you're able. Can't you see that my relationship is stable? I can see you hate the way we intermingle, but I think you're just mad cause you're single. You're not gonna start what we made together. We are gonna stay like this forever. If you break us apart.
Adventure time, come on, grab your friends. We'll go to very distant lands. We'll take the dog and then you'll end the fun. We'll never end this adventure.
For anybody that has seen Adventure Time, you don't need me to tell you how good it is. It is truly amazing. And just like I was saying about Steven Universe, the songs are so incredible and they stretch the story so well and it's so emotional, a lot of the songs. The thing that I love about Adventure Time is the universe. It is endless. There are so many tales to be told and so many beautiful and in-depth characters. Finn, Jake, Marceline, Beemo, Ice King, Princess Bubblegum, you got the Flame Princess, you got Lady Rainicorn, Lumpy Space Princess, the Earl of Lemongrab. We are going to have to do a top 10 list for Adventure Time eventually. I don't know, it might have to be characters or songs or both, but I need to get into Adventure Time more and do some lists.
I'm a buff baby that can dance like a man.
The show that got me back into Cartoon Network in my college years. Like I said, I grew up in the early 90s, things like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Two Stupid Dogs, Johnny Bravo. The height of what cartoons were in the early 90s was what I grew up with. It was one night in college, after way too much drinking, that we got back to my friend's house and he put on Foster's Home, And it was like being woken up to just how far Cartoon Network had come from when I was a kid to where it was now and to where it was going to go with the shows in the future. And then from that point on, I would not miss an episode of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. It was this point where Cartoon Network overtook Nickelodeon for me. The creativity, the art to it, the characters were all so likeable. I can pick a handful of names like Blue and Wilt and Eduardo. But then every week they'd bring in these amazing new characters into Madam Foster's, like Armpit Joe and Belly Bob Norton and Foul Larry, and of course, who can forget Cheese? Cheese is a legend.
Now I'm a horsey. Ah! Now you're a horsey. Give me up.
You all thought Dexters Lab was going to be number one, didn't you? Go on, admit it, you thought it was going to be number one. No way. This is top 10 favourites, not top 10 best. I love Dexter. If you ask most people over 30 years, name a Cartoon Network show. Most of them will say Dexter's Lab. And this is a gem of a show. It's a simple premise. Boy genius gets bugged by his dim-witted sister, but it works so well, and every episode is brilliant. From the moment Dexter first appeared, he entered the pantheon. He is up there with the greatest animated series to ever be made. I'm talking Simpsons, Flintstones, Looney Tunes. It's that good. But it is not my favourite Cartoon Network show. So what is? Very much like Foster's Home, a show that wasn't around when I was a kid, and I am so jealous of people that got to experience this as a kid. I just wish I could have experienced this through a child's eyes when I was 7, 8 or 9. Now don't get me wrong, I'm very immature and very childlike, and this is still one of my favourite shows, but I imagine what it would have been like to watch this as a kid. So why is Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy my favourite Cartoon Network show? Well, there is nothing I don't like about this show. It's dark, it's creepy, it's silly, it's got amazing characters, but over anything else, it is hilarious. Pretty much any animated or comedy series has made me laugh at one point or another. I'm very easily entertained, it doesn't take a lot. But there are a few shows, literally a handful, that have ever had me in hysterics. I'm talking that time when you are laughing so hard you can't get your breath, you've got tears rolling down your face. There are literally very few shows that do this. I'm talking Ren and Stimpy, Beavis and Butthead, Animaniacs, South Park, Simpsons. It's not a long list, but Billy and Mandy is in that list, and it holds such a precious place in my heart for that reason. And I bring up this show so many times and people haven't even seen it. And some people haven't even heard of it. You have to go watch Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Put everything else off. Believe me, it is worth it.
Fred Burger, Fred Burger, Fred Burger, Fred Burger, Fred Burger.
This was such a fun list to compile. And it went over a bit. It went a bit longer than the top 10 favourites usually go. And I think that might have something to do with how much I love talking about shows like Adventure Time, Foster's Homes, Steven Universe. We definitely have to delve back into them for future lists. We could do top 10 characters, we could do top 10 songs for Steven Universe, Adventure Time and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm going to shoot off because this list is running long. Let me know what you want to see in future. We could do Cartoon Network versus Nickelodeon if you wanted to. And of course, I want you in that comment section, top 10 favourites. What are your favourite Cartoon Network shows? Thank you as ever, guys, for all the likes, all the subscriptions. Means the world to me. Peace out.
bun, I'm a tasty, tasty bun to be baked and eaten. Oh, how fun! You can have me with breakfast, have me with brunch. You can have me with your dinner, you can have me with your lunch. I'm a bun, I'm a bun, I'm a tasty, tasty bun.